Hello and welcome to the Brick News, the weekly show on all things brick building where we talk about set updates and announcements from all the major brands, MOCs of the week, and I think we do have a reading recommendation today as well. Information is presented as always by setdb.org, the best source for set information on the internet. And as we do every week, this is where we're going to go right now. And here we have two new set announcements by BlueBrixx, a brand from over here, Central Europe. First of all, it's resin, and I'm pretty sure I pronounced this entirely wrong. Anyhow, it's one of these train thingies that you have to push forward by pure muscle strengths, 108807. It's designed by Ales. It's going to have 106 pieces and will be part of BlueBrixx BlueBrixx sub-brand, which is what they basically use for everything train related. As always with BlueBrixx, at announcement time we do not have a price point yet. Then we have at last carrier, car, vehicle, transport, whatever you may call it, 108809, designed by Christian, and it's going to have 225 pieces. Price again unknown at this point, and yes, I would say this is a typical car of its kind that has a pretty European design, I would argue, but I guess the whole concept is always the same. This picture that I'm currently showing, by the way, you can see the video version of this show on YouTube, Spotify, and TikTok. However, with the small drawback that on Spotify it's a manual process, so I publish the podcast. Then as soon as Spotify has picked up the podcast, I become the option or get the option by Spotify to upload a video file. So there's always a delay of usually 1 or 2 days max. If I not forget it. Anyhow, for those of you who can see this on video, for the others, for the podcast listeners, you can also just check the podcast show notes and then you can find links to the pictures and the set DB of all the sets I'm talking about. Anyhow, long story short, there is a picture that shows the inside. However, there's not really, it seems, a mechanism. I mean, if you look at the amount of studs that keeps the roof together or keeps the roof attached, it's pretty obvious that this is not like a mechanism that is designed to be removed, I would argue, but rather it's just something they did in order to be able to show the inside. So my guess is the only way to get into the inside is either kind of remove the roof like by force, or second, just open the back doors, because there's just too many studs for this to be like a managed mechanism. Anyhow, couple of availabilities also on BlueBrixx side as well. The Class 37 diesel locomotive, 108335, again Brixx line, designed by Pascal. I think I did talk about this set back in July last year, actually, when the announcement was done. Now available for the 770 pieces. You will pay over here in Europe 35 euros. Keep in mind, in Europe that includes VAT, so value add tax. And yeah, it's not a small train. It's roughly 2.5 by 4 by 16 inches. So not that small. But yeah, basically a Class 37. And then you have pretty old, actually I think these were very famous German passenger cars. It was called Donnerbüchse in Germany, like that's what people call it, it seems. I guess that's a Thunderbluff, something like that. So I guess this is related to the noise these things were making when riding them. Anyhow, 107454, keep in mind, this is a 3-in-1 set. So if you see these 3 wagons, then only, of course, you can build one of it. Anyhow, 742 pieces. BlueBrixx is asking for $33, 4.4 cents a piece. And then you have the UK or British or London Underground, 107733, now available, 1047 pieces. Again, this is a 3-in-1 set, so you can build different wagons. So if you want to build the entire train, you have to buy this set 3 times, or this train the way it is shown here. Obviously, if you want to build an entire London metro, I guess you need a lot of these bad boys. Anyhow, 1047 pieces, $40, 3.8 cents a piece. And then there's the Scottish Museum Railway, and there we have the first class saloon car now available, 108228, 746 pieces, 35 euros, 4.7 cents a piece. I think I did talk about these back in June last year, so that was quite a while ago. And then there's the restaurant car, 108223. Also available, 35 bucks. I think it has a slightly higher piece count, actually, 40 additional pieces for the wagon. I guess, yes, you basically have your small kitchenette or kitchen on the inside, and then you have a couple of tables with everything you need to basically get your diner done, or your dinner. 35 euros, like I said, 44 cents a piece. In a nutshell. Anyhow, that was BlueBrixx. With that, we're moving on to Cobi, and here we have a couple of, not yet announcements, but just an FYI, sets that Cobi plans to release this year, aka new sets from this year's catalog. By the way, if you're into this whole catalog thing, I do have on SetDB, so if you go to setdb.org, there is under the menu here on the top level navigation, I mean, depends if you're on mobile, of course, it looks slightly different. It's called Catalog Archive, where I have basically a collection of catalogs, both by Lego, as well as Color, as well as Cobi. And here you can just check out the newest catalog, 2025/1. Keep in mind, Cobi has two different kind of catalogs. One is called Build History Piece by Piece, and the other one is just called the catalog. I've never really understood why they make two different catalogs. They have a different format, and by means being, vertical or horizontal. And they basically release at different times during the year. So usually each and every one of them has a couple of updates, but usually like the big, vertical ones, the regular, it seems to be the one with most of the news. But anyhow, if you look, for instance, at the last catalog from last year, which was one of these vertical ones, Build History Piece by Piece, and there, for instance, they announced all the Roman sets. So I don't know if there's really a good rule. Long story short, the first catalog is out and there's a ton of stuff. In fact, most of the sets I talked about relating to Cobi in the last couple of weeks is also in this catalog. So we have a few more, but I'm saying all this to let you know that at this point in time, though, we basically have the catalog pictures. We know a little bit about the piece count, minifigures, but not much else, right? We don't have the whole shebang of pictures and images of the box and backside and all the details. But nevertheless, there's a lot to talk about. So first, in 1/32 airplane scale, we have two additional announcements. One is the new Hurricane, so the Hawker Hurricane 5762, 373 pieces, one minifigure. In a nutshell, that is a set that Cobi has made before, I think. So last year we had the 5728. Both of them, of course, Royal Air Force, but different squadrons, as far as I can tell. So I guess, yes, this is more something. So the one from last year was from 301st, and I think the one that we will see this year is from 302nd. So when it comes to the model itself, I guess the main difference is going to be the minifigure and the prints, because, like I said, it's from different wings, air wings. But I think it is more or less the same model. That's my guess at this point in time, because they look very similar, at least based on the pictures that we have right now, which, of course, again, is only one picture from only one angle, not that high of a resolution, but piece count is very similar, and they look very similar as well. However, what is entirely new, I do believe, let me just double check, is the Lockheed P-38 Lightning. And I think this is only the second time that Cobi is doing a P-38, which I may be wrong here. Let me just double check that. Yeah, I think they did. No, there was another one. This is interesting. I need to check why this one is not. Yeah, this is non-recognized. So this was also 1/32 scale Lightning, the 5726. And this one had, back in the day, 545 pieces. I think, yeah, you can still buy it, actually. It's still available. So the new one with 650 pieces seems to be most and foremost focused on a different color scheme. Next to that, I do assume it is the same airplane, again 1/32. That also means that there will be a minifigure, full-blown minifigure included. So what Cobi is usually doing is that by 1/32 scale airplanes, they include full minifigures with legs and everything, and then 1/48 they basically throw in the same figures more or less, but not all the time, I should mention. And if they do so, it is more like a torso. Speaking of such, let's come to 1x48 scale airplanes. And here we have, first of all, the Messerschmitt Bf109G. Again, this is, I think, an airplane that Cobi has done before. So we had last year the 5761. No, that is wrong. This is the wrong comparison. I think we should rather compare this one. No, I think I'm wrong here. So 5517. I don't know the scale here. So no, I think this one does not have a predecessor. As far as I can tell. Let me just double check, because I was pretty sure. No, this was a 1x32 scale. Yeah, this was 1x32. So yeah, this seems to be a new one. Because we haven't had a 1x48 in a while. So 125 pieces in a kind of gray color scheme, which looks quite interesting. Again, based on these pictures, I can't say that much more. But it seems to be a new design, as far as I can tell. Not just a recolor scheme and more not more of the same, but actually a new one. So with that, we're moving on to the Mustang P51B 5869. Here we actually have a first price indication by BlueBrixx in this case, around $27 US. In Europe, we don't have one, I think, at this point in time. Anyhow, this thing will have 158 pieces. And it's a 1x48 scale, like I said. And then we will have another Spitfire, which is quite interesting. The Spitfire Mark I N3200, 5868. This one is going to have 1x46, 146 pieces, 1x48 scale. Like I said, we even have a picture from the backside of the box. Let me double check here on the Supermarine Spitfire. Yeah, so I think here in this case, we will have again a 1x48 and a 1x32 scale. So we'll get both this year. And the last one we had was a 1x48 scale with a 5865, the Spitfire Mark 16 bubble top with 152 pieces, which is actually still available, still on the market. So, and the same is true for the 1x32 scale one, which was back in the day, the 5725. So basically, we get, I think, just a refresh of these existing models by Cobi. And then I think, I already mentioned last week, we will also get a Rafale C by Dassault Aviation, I think the company's called, 5901. So a French air fighter jet as well. 530 pieces, 1x48 scale fighter jet. With that, we're done with Cobi and we're moving on to Happy Build. And here we will have I should mention that I think the brand of these sets is actually not called Happy Build, but I do believe that this brand, please keep me honest here, if you have different information, does belong to the same company. This is why I pulled it into Happy Build. Especially many Chinese companies nowadays are basically creating so many sub-brands, if you will, but it gets more complicated and complicated to track this correctly. So usually I throw this nowadays. I actually changed my behavior here. I did this differently 2-3 years ago, but I'm already beyond 60 brands and stuff gets crowded. Plus usually it's just a different brand logo, instruction quality, piece quality, all that stuff is the same. That's why I'm currently thinking, I think this brand is called something like BlueBrixx or so. Masterpieces. My apologies. And I, however, do believe it does belong to the same company that Happy Build does. That's why it is under the Happy Build brand. Anyhow, 23014 is the set. It's called the Duplex House, basically modern house design. I'm actually a friend of mine intends to build it, so I'm interested in her feedback, but has a couple of strange design choices. For instance, all the trans clear stuff is entirely bricked, it seems, which basically means, of course, it is like it is trans clear, but it's not panel based, which most companies do. Instead, it's fully brick based. So I'm not really sure how that is going to look. What is also a bit strange, looking from this angle here, is that the pool looks like it's empty, which is a bit strange because nobody would go into a pool that has such a low water level, right? I mean, it would be, you would feel like being in a prison or something. Anyhow, this is the design it is. Like I said, 2,000 pieces. I've only seen this yet as announcement in the BlueBrixx store, i.e. over here on the European retail side. So I haven't seen this one yet in China, but I've been told that Chinese retailers will get this one in. Anyhow, then we also have a rescue truck, same sub-brand, 24009, 869 pieces. I don't know how it is in different areas of the world, but this is typically how, from the German Automobile Club, ADAC, this is how their trucks look. They use this yellow color scheme, but I don't know if that is exactly what Happy built or Masterpieces had in mind here, but at least from a German perspective, the color scheme makes sense. If you look at this round tile piece, I guess it is a Mercedes-Benz truck. With that, moving on to the boarding stair car, 24012, which is basically a truck, right, with a stair, with stairs and everything for airport usage. I actually haven't seen these that much in a very long time, and I used to fly a lot, but usually these things are moved by hand for smaller airplanes, and larger airplanes, at least on all the airports I went to, just dock directly to the building. So I'm not really sure. I haven't seen one of these in a very, very long time. Anyhow, I guess they still exist. It's a pretty large set, 1,900 pieces, so almost twice the piece count compared to the previous set. Yeah, for this one here, I think we can skip this one. There are two new Mould King sets where actually I just can't see the name of the set in English. Let me figure this out. I only have a German name here by a German retailer, but the resolution of the box is not that good, so that's why I don't know what the original Mould King set is here. But in a nutshell, Mould King has two of these, has this huge paradise kind of bird. I really don't know how these are called in English, but I will figure it out. I will fix this. Anyhow, 10149, so you have this blue bird that you can basically attach to the wall. 690 pieces. I do not have yet a listing for retail here, but I'm working on that. And then you will have also another bird set. This, however, is kind of, yeah, you have like a free-flowing bird together with a small tree and plant piece and a little bit of water as well. Again, I don't have the original set name yet. My apologies, I didn't check that I don't have the English name for this one yet, or the original name. 10151 though, 609 pieces. With that, we're moving on to availability of sets that I think I did talk about in December. The Peanut sets by Pantasy are now available in the Pantasy store, as well as with certain other Chinese retailers. First, we have the Red House, which of course, you know, is very well known. And then you have Snoopy on the typewriter and everything. 86901 piece count, it will be something around 200. Pantasy is asking for $25 US, now available in their store. Same is true for the painting piece, 86902. Same, no, I think it's $1 more, right? Yep, it's $26 US. And then you have this, the coffee one with the big coffee mug where Peanut is on top. Again, all of them are basically with two minifigures. And then you have, of course, this last thing where the entire set is in. We have seen these one before with Le Petit Prince or the Little Prince sets, where basically the whole only rose thing, etc., etc. They were in these boxes as well. They have very high piece quality, I can say that. Nevertheless, it is trans clear plastic, if you will. So the question is how well this thing is going to look like, you know, after a little bit of cleaning, a couple of years. I do not know. But 86903 is $25 US. And then there is a new set, actually, also from the Snoopy Party line. This actually is a listing that I found with one of my Chinese retail partners. It's called the Snoopy Party Phonograph, 86911. So this one looks quite exciting. I would say it's going to cost you around $65 US with Chinese retailers. Again, whenever I talk about prices, obviously, depending on where you live, your mileage may vary here. But it's not a small set. It's almost 8 inches by 12.5, so it's not a small set. But yeah, it looks quite beautiful. It seems to be a lot of metallic gold included, a lot of, I assume, pad printed pieces, but actually I'm not 1% sure. And my understanding is also it has a couple of technical functions as well. And at least this picture, I unfortunately don't speak or cannot read Chinese. I don't speak it either, but also can't read it. So I don't know if there's a sound module included or not, but a couple of functions are there. Then a quick FYI, I have added a new brand to the database. It's called Heap. It's over here from Europe. I think the founders, it's kind of a startup, relatively young. I think it was founded by a German and Austrian, as far as I can tell. Unfortunately, I do not have any retail options for the international audience at this point in time. Only pure German retailers. But just as an FYI, we have this new brand. I just want to mention it because it's also on the thumbnail, because sometimes I'm a bit in the problem that I use the same thumbnails for the German version of the show as well as the English version. And so I just want to mention that, yes, I know there's a couple of sets on the thumbnail that you cannot even buy yet. But like I said, I added this brand. Basically what they do is they make these typical, very typical Central European slash German slash Austrian kind of sets. They usually come with a license. They work with a lot of industrial partners. I actually met them on a fair that we had last year on Schwabstein, which is one of the large Lego fairs that we have, or Lego events. And they were actually there with a booth, and the sets look pretty amazing. And based on what they told me, they collaborate with all the companies that which names they are basically using. So they're fully licensed sets. And I think all the pieces that you see here that have something on them are all pad printed. So it's pretty cool stuff. Manufacturing, of course, is in China, but like I said, it's like a German startup. Anyhow, a couple of sets I will link for you. However, like I said, it's a ton of German. Maybe, I don't know. If you have ever been to Germany, you may be into these sets as well. So we are coming to a quick news update. Didn't publish anything on my website. I think it's not such big a deal, but I still want to mention that for Bricklink Designer Program Series 7 now, the vote has opened. It's going on to February 21st. They call it the crowd support, but basically means you can vote, right? It's the typical drill. This is, like the name suggests, already the 7th time that we do it. At the same time, for Series 4, you are in the actual crowdfunding. However, Medieval Seaside Market and Siege Encampment, those two Bricklink Designer Program sets already sold out, but you can still pre-order the Merchant Boat, Wild West Train, and Riverside Scorers. As you can say, I mean, this is not a surprise. They're all funded. So far, I think everything has been funded since Bricklink changed the whole process with this current series. Anyhow, with that we are done. Quick reading recommendation. I did write a review on lighting the Lego Tudor Corner Modular 10350. So this is a light tailing kit. As a quick recap, I've done a ton of reviews on these light kits. I'm a huge fan of the whole concept of lighting. I have them all over my place. Light tailing is the one where basically compared to, I don't know, Light My Bricks or the sister brand Bricks Max or Light Go, or I don't know. There are so many brands out there. Usually what they have individual components, and then you basically get, for every Lego set, you can buy like a collection, if you will, right, of individual lights that you then have to stick together based on the instructions. However, the light tailing brand or light tailing concept is quite different, by means that you have already soldered together light strengths, if you will, where everything's already included. Basically, you have a modular. This modular has like 3-4 floors or different elements or modules in quotes, and basically you have one lighting component per module, and that means you don't have to connect them together. That means of course, every cable has already the perfect size. In a nutshell, it makes this a lot easier and easier to hide as well, because you just have a lot less cabling, because everything is manufactured exactly for that. The drawback, of course, of that concept is that you cannot reuse them very well for different sets or for your own MOCs or stuff like that, right? That is the big drawback, but it makes all of this a lot easier. It's usually cheaper. And of course, it's easier to hide the cabling. Anyhow, I did a quite detailed, I would argue, review and explanation how this all works, how it's done. And of course, I have a ton of pictures of the lighting result as well. So I will link this down below for you as well. With that, we're moving on to MOCs of the week. And here we have the Kaya Bridge by Pavlov 030. 1000 parts for this bridge tower component that my understanding is from Horizon Zero Dawn, a game that I've actually haven't played because I've basically stopped playing games 10 years ago, which I quite regret, but I guess the bricks have taken over my free time. So I don't have time for computer games anymore. From time to time I buy one, basically in order to never to play it, but that's just my problem. But I think it's quite a nifty design. I really like it. I think it has a lot of detail, a lot of an interesting color scheme. At the same time, it is still rather simple, I would argue. Something that looks for sure quite robust, so something that can maybe also is a starting point for your own designs. And then we have by Jericho again a micro diorama, which I mean I've never built anything from him. I don't know how well this stuff works. Actually, this thing here, this design looks quite dicey, you know, everything just being on these arm bars, basically. This bar based design with all the starships on top of these bars. Looks, like I said, a bit dodgy, but I'm nevertheless, I'm a huge fan of Jericho's designs. Always, I mean, they're all like spot on. And this one again looks quite amazing. I mean, like I guess most grown-ups, I'm not the biggest fan of Skeleton Crew. I mean, it's not like, it's not like Endor, but I think it was a good show. So yeah, I would really like to build this thing one day. It looks really amazing. $12 US, 1,265 pieces, and it is the Starport Borgo. With that, we're moving on to an interesting project of Mickey Bricalotti. I guess the idea was here to have a certain Italian flavor to this. Quite a nice nickname. Anyhow, it's a Gothic tower, which is part of Mickey's medieval village diorama. This one here has 1,073 parts. Mickey is asking for $5 US for the instructions, which is not bad. However, in order to best understand this MOC, you need to check out, or I think he had a picture in here. So like I said, this is a larger project, which I think from a concept point of view is really amazing. I mean, there are beautiful buildings in there. And what he's basically doing is having these individual modules, quite detailed buildings. They should fit very well with Lego's lineup of the medieval market and Lion Knight's castle and stuff. And at the same time, it is on a robust build system, so you could also use this as a starting point for your own medieval village. And what I personally think is very smart, a lot more designers should do this, that all the greebling and stuff on the ground, like foliage and everything, is very scarce, if you will. There's not much, which I think is nice, because this is really something everybody could do. So I think it's good not to overburden the instructions with tiny pieces and foliage and everything, because this is something really everybody can do on their own. So I think it's a nice concept to be plain and simple on the mills level, if you will, on the foundation, and then have these nice buildings and everything. So yeah, the village is already quite far. But it seems, my guess is that Mickey is not done yet. Pretty cool project. With that, we're moving on to the Japanese modular collection by Rebel Neely. So this is like a collection of multiple MOCs. Overall, it is 5 MOCs, which as a result also means it's quite a high price point, 10,000 pieces, and the entire package is going to cost you almost 60 bucks. Euros in this case. But yeah, I think it has a really beautiful design. So if you're into this kind of design, I think it should fit very well with Kada's Japanese line with all the extra sandbox designs. I think these should go very well together. And yeah, I think there are a couple of beautiful designs in here as well. Personally, for my taste, a bit pricey. And then, just as an FYI, because we have a lot of these already on Riggable, but I do believe that PL MOCs, because he has done already so many of these alternate builds. He's kind of the king of modular alternate builds. I think just, using instructions from this designer, if you have like 5 modulars, I think you're busy for a couple of years just building all these alternate builds. And he's selling them also in a lot of packages. But I think what he has here is almost like a must-have in many collectors' portfolios, and this is an alternate of the new Tudor corner by means of not making it, or basically not being a corner anymore, but a straight Tudor in, because Lego is making a lot of these corner modulars, and I think that makes sense, so that you can have kind of like a checkerboard design for your modulars, right? Typical kind of US city design with blocks and everything, but I don't know if you're more into like European style cities that are not so much organized into blocks. This may be a problem if you have so many corners, or if you just want to put them on a shelf and you have a long shelf and you just don't need that many corners. In this case, this may be handy. As far as I can tell, I mean, it has been a couple of weeks since I built the Tudor corner, but I think that all the important design elements of the original have been covered here as well, but like I said, organized in a straight-in setup. With that, we are done with the show. As always, all like, rate, follow, subscribe, you know the drill. It is called different on every platform, but it's all highly appreciated. As always, thanks for listening. See you next week.